What's up? We're back. Glad you're still keeping us company here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jain Wambui, and we want to move on to the last and second item on our health bit today. And this is Basics 101 that we all need to be equipped with. When it comes to emergencies or an accident or somebody needing first aid, what do you need to do, or what can you do to help save a life or prevent further damage than what has already been done? We have with us two fantastic ladies on set, Magaldem representing here. I'll start with the lady to my extreme left. She is Michelle Sikobe. She is a first responder. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Fantastic. And we also have Judy Gacheri, who is the communications executive at St. John Ambulance. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making time to be with us today, ladies. And remember, as I always say, questions, comments, clarifications, simple or grand as they may be, we welcome you to share them with us. Talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya, at KBC Channel 1, at Jain Wambui, and of course at St. John Ambulance Kenya is how you can interact with us on this segment. So this is going to be very practical, y'all. Mukiona tumetoa viatu, just bear with us. We are here to make sure that you are doing the proper thing and that you need to do, not the things that we see in movies.
Sure.
I'm one of those who do things that they see in movies. So this is meant to help us be better positioned in the cases of emergencies. Yeah. So let's just start with the basics. Let me start with you, Judy. You know, when we talk about first aid, do you think we have the proper perception of what first aid is? Generally speaking, sisi just kawaida wananchi.
Well, first aid actually simply means the first assistance that you offer to a casualty.
Yes.
Right? And I just think maybe sometimes people think that first aid is this very big and crazy thing, and you need
that
specific.
We see in movies.
Yeah. Yes, that you see in movies, and you need to be extremely trained, if I may say so.
Yeah.
Of course, you need some training, but ideally, first aid is basically the first assistance that you offer a casualty using the available resources. Basically, wherever it is that you can find at your vicinity, that's exactly what you use for first aid.
That is first aid in a nutshell.
Yes.
And as a first responder, what does being a first responder even mean in the first place, before we give our movie definitions?
Being a first responder basically means you are first to assist. You are the one who is in charge of the area. If it's an accident,
yes,
you're the one who's telling people, move aside, let this person have some breathing space. You're the one who is administering first aid to this person and just instructing the casualties and also the people who are around you on what to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when we have a first aid box, there are those essentials that need to be there that can help take care of any situation or any emergency that one may be in. Yeah. What are the basics that you would advise ought to be in a first aid kit, whether it's in the home, in the car, at school, at your workplace? Let me hear from you.
So in a first aid kit, as we have
the
one
basics.
here, yes, the basics. What majorly you need are gloves. You need to have gloves at all times inside the first aid kit.
To avoid contamination between you and the patient?
Yes,
okay.
And especially if blood is involved, you need to have gloves to protect yourselves. Then the next thing you will need majorly are bandages. In here we have so many different types, but majorly you'll also need bandages inside here. Definitely you need some scissors, you'll need some thermometers. You will basically need all that, but the major things are the gloves, the triangular bandage, and this kit is basically equipped with everything. Yes, and in case of any emergency, it will assist you in any emergency, as long as you see it's so small,
very handy,
but it is very equipped. But it is very equipped, for sure, kabisa.
All right.
Yeah.
Now this is something that you can use in any emergency situation that would help you at least prevent any further damage, or depending on the situation.
Yes.
Now we're going to be having a lot of demonstrations today. We have our two other volunteers over there. We'll call that Thomas, and we'll call this young one Alpha. My son is called Alpha, so I will be using this as a space to learn how to protect my son in the event that he's ever in a situation that he needs assistance. My son is a year old, so this is also part of the necessary information that I need to have as a parent. So I want us to start with the most common incidences that we might be or find ourselves in. And we start with one that even disturbs my colleague, Doreen Aranje. Nose bleeding. Nose bleeding is something that most of us have experienced at one point or the other.
Yeah.
What are the do's and don'ts when you find yourself in a situation, whether you or somebody else that you can assist?
Yes, as you've said, nose bleeding is something that we always encounter every other day. Ideally, when you're doing first aid for nose bleeding, one of the don'ts that most people do is tell the casualty to tilt their head backwards.
Yes.
That is a don't. Because ideally, you want to, people usually say that because they think when you tilt it back, the blood will kind of like go back, which isn't exactly how it should be. Actually, the first aid, what you do in case of nose bleeding, it's actually pretty simple.
Okay.
So basically what you do is you ask the casualty to sit just like this. So I'm just going to demonstrate because first aid is pure practical, right? So you just request the casualty to sit like this comfortably. Then they lean forward. They might probably just lean like this and support themselves. Then you ask them to pinch the soft part of the nose. I said the soft part, this part. It's not like here or anywhere, just here, right? So they just lean forward like this and pinch for about 10 minutes.
And breathe through the mouth.
Yes.
Don't stop breathing.
Oh, yes, very key. So when you actually ask them to pinch this, so just continue to breathe with your mouth like this, right? So something like that for 10 minutes. Then they stop pinching, you check. If they're still nose bleeding, another 10 minutes.
Of repeating the same actions.
And then you check, and then another 10 minutes. If by then, naturally, when your nose bleeding, blood already has the clotting factors, which actually helps the nosebleed to stop. But if you do that for 30 minutes, that is 10 minutes you check, another 10 you check, and the casualty has not actually recovered, now you actually need to call for assistance and take that casualty to hospital.
All right.
But ideally, within that period, it actually works. As I said, kindly just make it 10 minutes. Normally people are like, you should actually
blow the nose to see
or to see if there's still more, right? Actually, when you do that, because sometimes nose bleeding is usually caused by a damage on the blood capillaries in the nose.
Busting of the
if you
capillaries.
actually blow it, now you're making it worse, right? So you just do 10 minutes, exactly 10 minutes like that. Then you check. If it's still bleeding, you do again. 3 intervals, that's 30 minutes. If it continues, then you need to go to hospital. But naturally, it should stop.
Now, how do you clean after that process? Because many times you'd find that the blood that was maybe coming out has clotted around the nose. How do you clean it without causing more damage by blowing your nose?
Yes. So what you do is you use a clean piece of cloth and warm water. Just put it in warm water and then just clean. You can maybe ensure that the cloth is soft.
Yes.
You just use it to clean that area. And that is just going to be enough.
All right.
Yes.
Lesson number 1. Do not blow your nose if you are nose bleeding.
Yes.
Because that will make the situation worse.
Yeah.
Number 2, do not tilt your head back.
Yes.
I hope we're taking notes. Okay? Do not tilt your head back because that might lead to other problems that we do not need. All right. So we've taken care of that. Number 2, fainting. And this takes me back to high school. Praise and worship, unasikia tu krush, somebody has fallen. And we all gather there to look at the person. And we're not really assisting. Nini may happen. When somebody faints, what are the immediate actions that we need to take to ensure that we're actually protecting them?
The first thing, the crowding is so wrong.
That's the problem.
Yes, that's the major problem. The crowding is so wrong.
Yes.
We shouldn't crowd on a person who's fainted because they actually need that fresh air. So when a person faints, we're actually going to do this practically.
Yes. We're going to use Judy
as a prop.
All right. Thomas, your time will come. All right.
You want me to faint right here?
Yes, please.
Faint professionally. We do not have insurance for you here in case you hurt yourself.
No problem. I'll give you the number to call.
Yes. Or how they faint in movies.
Okay, so let me just faint.
Yes, just faint.
She's fainted now.
So the first thing you need to do is to check if around there's anything that may hurt the person.
Okay.
So you can walk around or you can just check, look if there's anything that is going to hurt the person. Then you now check if the person is breathing and if the person is responsive.
How do you check that professionally?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? You see she's not responding, but you can see that her diaphragm is moving.
Still moving.
So she's still breathing.
Okay.
Though she's unconscious. So the next thing you will do is to make sure, then you look for something to tilt. Let me use
Thomas
here.
Thomas. All right,
So you lift her legs
to be above the level of the rest of the body.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you had a bit like 2 Thomas here, it would be,
That would be better.
yes.
All right.
But you have to make sure that the legs are a bit tilted up compared to the level of the body. Then now you wait for her to respond.
All right.
If within about 10 or 15 minutes she has not responded, then now you have to call for an ambulance to take her to hospital.
All right.
Yes.
Number 1, avoid crowding.
Yes.
Check if they're responsive.
Yes.
Then check if they're breathing. Then elevate the legs.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to fainting, I have seen this, and especially with those in the sporting arena.
Yeah.
It's something that we used to do, or we were told to do when I used to play basketball in campus, and we were told if somebody passes out, you need to put them in the recovery position. Is that also something you recommend? Or that's a bit professional?
Actually, the recovery position is the position that you usually put a casualty when they are unconscious but breathing.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to use that as a prop.
Yes.
So normally in first aid, there's usually the primary survey and the secondary survey. So the primary survey is always something is ideally what you do to ensure that the casualty, you want to actually just find out if they have any they're in a life-threatening situation.
Okay.
So the primary survey is we usually use the acronym Dr. ABC. Doctor, that is DR ABC, right? So D is for danger. The very first thing that you do in each and every setting, let's say you've just found a casualty somewhere, the first thing you do is what my colleague said, which is check for danger in case there's anything around. Yes, just the immediate surrounding.
Okay.
Maybe there's something that might add the casualty as you're doing the recovery position or something like that, right? The second thing is the response. That's why you saw her trying to call me, hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
So that, if someone is conscious, they're actually going to be able to respond. But now, because when they're unconscious, they cannot actually respond, right? So that's the second thing. Now we go to the ABC. A stands for airway. Airway ideally is you want to always ensure that the airway is
Clear.
Because you don't want anything blocking. And normally when someone is unconscious, the tongue usually rests on the upper part, and then it's going to actually block, so they're not able to breathe. So what you want to do in this particular case is ensure that the tongue actually lies on the base of the mouth.
Okay.
So what you usually do in the part of airway is you tilt the head. We call it chin lift, head tilt. When you do like that, normally the tongue is going to lie on the base of the mouth, right? So the second thing is breathing. You remember my colleague was talking about the upward movement of the diaphragm. So when that is happening, that means that casualty is breathing. So
and that's good.
Which is a very good thing, yes. So at that point when you do the B, it's usually the moment where you need to make a decision. If this casualty is breathing, then you can move on to C, which is circulation. If this casualty is not breathing, you actually should do CPR, right? So
I like how she has fainted professionally, like in movies.
In this particular case,
yes,
she's breathing, right? So we go to C. C ideally is circulation. Circulation is you want to ensure that blood is moving around the body. Circulation is usually checked by checking the pulse, right? So I would want to go and check a pulse, but one key thing, whenever you're moving to any casualty, you should actually, as my colleague said, the very first thing that you need to always have are gloves. Because now you want to start touching and doing all of that, right? And given this time, because it's COVID time, the other thing that you really need to have is a mask.
Face mask.
Right? For us, we've been tested, we work together and all that, right?
And you're well socially distanced, in case anyone is wondering.
Yes. So you wear your gloves. Gloves are usually worn like this. You start with your thumb and then the rest of the fingers. However, I know you're thinking, what if I don't have gloves? I'm in the middle of nowhere. That's okay. The whole idea behind first aid is you're supposed to be able to offer this. Okay, my rings.
They have done another.
Yep. Yep. A first aider key thing, should not be having such. Anyway, so if you're outside in the middle of nowhere and you don't have gloves, you can just use any polythene, buy a loaf of bread and give out the bread, and then use that bag, right?
Okay.
Because you don't want to be infected, or literally anything, whatever you have around you. Okay. So now on circulation, which is C, as I said, I'm going to check for the pulse. So you usually do it like this. When you actually do
what
that,
do you feel for to be able to detect the pulse?
actually, when you do that, if you are going to do it on yourself, you actually feel ta ta.
Yes.
You feel it?
Right here under the jawline?
Yes, just here.
At the
See?
corner of the jaw?
Right
okay.
here.
All right.
You see, like now I can actually feel hers, right? So which means that she's all right. The other thing that you can probably try and check would be what you call capillary refill. So it's usually how fast the blood just fills up on the
back.
finger, right?
Okay.
So you do this, it's supposed to take a maximum of 3 seconds.
1, 2, 3.
See?
It should be turned back
It
to
should
the red.
turn back to the red.
Okay.
Good. Awesome. I like you. You're a very good student.
I'm listening.
Yes. So now that we've done that, she's breathing, she's okay.
You're good with Dr.
I'm good
ABC.
to do with Dr. ABC,
All
right?
right.
So the next thing would be the secondary survey. Secondary survey ideally is you can now probably ask people what's happening. As you ask people what's happening, you can continue with the rest of it. Because now this casualty is breathing. That means that that's a good thing, you know? They might be
We
unconscious.
don't need CPR in that case?
Yes, we don't need CPR. But if she was not breathing, I wouldn't even go to the secondary survey because that's not needed. I should actually already be doing the CPR right
Okay.
now, right? So now because she's breathing, what you do, the next thing is to do a head to toe. What happens in head to toe is you actually just touch around, you know, to feel if there is, you just feel maybe if it's the head, if there is any softness, so that you know that maybe they fell, they have a broken nini. Then you move down to the hands, right? You want to know if maybe there is any fracture,
Any
or
broken
something,
parts.
any broken
Is
part,
anything
because you don't want
broken?
to start, so that you know how to move them, right? So you feel every part, right? And then you move, feel along the spine, if they might be having any spinal injury, right? Then we move down to the leg
As you straighten
her
out. Okay.
right? And then you feel
The
the rest of it, right? So I place her in that position. Let me just ensure that she's okay. So in this particular case, I'm going to assume that she is
Not
okay. She
physically.
doesn't have any fractures.
Yes.
As you go down, kindly just loosen up any tight clothing that they may be having, especially on the neck and the chest area and the waist.
All right.
Right? And even if they're wearing shoes, maybe you can just loosen them. So now that I'm going to show you how to do recovery position. So this is for a casualty who is unconscious but breathing. Right?
Need to note that.
Yes, very key. The very first thing that you do is you take this hand, the one that is closest to you. So if you're on that side, you're supposed to take that hand. The
All
point
right.
is closest to you. You put it at right angle, like that.
90 degree
90 degrees.
on this
Good.
side.
Then now you come, you pick the hand that is farthest from you, and you put it on the chin.
Side of the cheek.
Then you continue to hold on
Hold.
to that hand. Take the leg that is farthest from you.
From
like
the
this.
knee.
Yes, from the knee. Pull it up.
Fold it up.
Right? Ensure that it's leaning on the floor. Then use this knee and with your hand right here to support, because of course you don't want any injury to the head.
Yes.
And then tilt. When you actually use the knee,
You're able
the
to move
movement
your
is
whole
much
body.
easier, right? So once they're in that position, you take this leg and place it in that angle.
A
This
90
is to
degree as
ensure,
well.
yes, this is to ensure that the casualty doesn't tilt over. Then you come on to this side. As we said, we want the airway to be clear. So we are going to do the
Chin to-
tilt, like that, in that particular position. Then you just
right.
leave them comfortable. Actually, when they're in that position, they're able to breathe very well and everything. At that point now, you can call for help even as you monitor the casualty.
So this is the recovery position.
Yes.
All right.
Actually, when you sleep in this position, even on normal times, it's very comfortable.
All right.
Yeah. So that's
Fantastic.
the recovery position.
I like it. You're a very good actress. She was literally out. You know?
I know, right?
Awesome. So that is how you just go about a situation where somebody has fainted and you can offer assistance, the basics that you can do. That you did not need any medical
Yeah.
equipment to
Yes.
be able to assist in such a situation. Now, let's do burns. If you have children,
Yeah.
at one point or the other, they have burnt themselves with something. My daughter once burnt herself with hot porridge.
Yeah.
Reaching out for it, fell over. She was wearing a long-sleeved t-shirt, burnt her here and here, and then my nanny removed the t-shirt so it came off with the skin. Now mzazi ukiona unaona white, you panic.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
in case of burns with hot liquids, could be water, could be porridge, could be oil, or flames. Step number one for such a situation.
Okay. Step number one, please don't do what you're running at.
Yeah.
Right? Let's begin from there. So the bans would depend. Is it a minor ban or a major ban?
And you know ngozi ya white.
Okay. You've already told me exactly what I should be talking about, right? So for the minor burns, these are the kind of burns where maybe you are touching a sufuria and it burns you. So the very first thing that you do actually with both types of burns is you actually put that area, whatever area it is, on running water. Running. I said running. Don't put it in still water, like in a sufuria or something like that. No, in running. So make it like a tap, and if there's no tap, just pour the water.
Keep pouring.
Yes.
Okay.
Put it on running water for 10 minutes, right? At least to cool off. You know, there is that very crazy burning sensation. So if it's a minor burn, like the ones in the owls, maybe just touch a sufuria or something like that.
Iron box.
So yes, that kind. Once you do that for 10 minutes, the next thing that you do is just to use
before we go to the bandaging part, ice cubes and really cold water, is it recommended?
Do not use really cold water. The thing is, that part has actually been burnt. Now you're moving it like from really hot to extremely cold. That casualty might actually go to shock, as you were saying. So the thing is, just use the normal tap water. Just room temperature water. Yes. Ice is used for in another different case, which probably we are going to talk about, right? So if it's a really major burn, like the one that you're talking about, where there is
the first layer of the skin is
it's all over and everything, or maybe you're just seeing charred skin, like, you know, a really major burn. What you do after you do the 10 minutes on running water, the next thing that you do is to cover it with I will call it something like a cling film, you know, or a polythene paper. The reason why you do that in that area, but it depends. If it's a clothing that they were wearing or something like that, kindly don't go to remove it. But if it's a place that is exposed, now go and do what I'm saying. You just cover it with something like a cling film or polythene paper. The reason is, if you cover it with a bandage, when skin is burnt that much, it usually produces, our bodies usually produce a lot of fluids. So it's actually going to stick. Right? And there are people who use unga. I've heard of cases where someone actually
no.
No. Don't. Actually, what's going to happen is it's going to form, what am I going to call it? It's like soil and mud, and then you mix it, you know, right? Because the body is producing those fluids. So please don't do that. Just use something like a polythene paper or a cling film, and then move that casualty to hospital.
Hakuna unga ya chapo.
Tafadhali.
Let us be clear on that. No unga ya chapo. Whether the skin is still on or off. Because sometimes unasikia kichomeka na mafuta ya kupika chapo kwanza, unachukua hiyo unga chapo unaweka. So that does not help.
And don't prick the blisters, kindly. Just
they're very tempting.
When you actually prick them, when you actually prick them, what you do is now you expose that burn to infection. So what you're supposed to do is just clean it, do it under the running water, as I said, and then use a bandage. The blister will actually just blow up or whatever on its own. Right? So just let it, please.
Then from there you can now go to a medical facility.
Yes. But for the small burns, actually after a couple of days, as long as you're just cleaning the area and then bandaging it, it's going to be okay. But for major burns, once you've done the cling film, kindly go to hospital. Do not continue to self-medicate at that particular point. Remember, this is supposed to be the immediate measures you can take to help prevent further damage or further injury. This is First Aid 101. Do not go quoting, I saw this on KBC and they said, I need to do this. This is first aid to help prevent further injury. Now, let's move to choking. And this is where baby Alpha comes in. Because most of the times choking happens with children. And I want to hear from you, Michelle. You know, choking, let's just start with how we can prevent choking, and especially in children. Yes, and we'll get to also Thomas.
First thing, as a parent, basically all here we are parents. As kids, they look at the tiny little things. I will give an example of yesterday. My daughter took a bone, nyama, and sneakily put it in her mouth. So in my head, I'm like, what is this baby doing? What is inside her mouth? So you see, these little things, if we actually do not pay keen attention to our kids and we actually do not remove them from wherever they are for them to not to gain access, they're still going to take them. They'll see your phone, they'll see your pen, they'll put it in their mouth. Because the first instinct is, let me see what is this. So the first thing, as a house manager, as a mom, as a dad, as a parent, you have to ensure that these things are not close to where your kids are. Make sure at least create somewhere whereby you can just put the things high up.
But they always find them.
Now,
That's the thing. My goodness.
We try.
we try.
Try as best as you can. Yeah.
So now, when a kid chokes on something,
Yes.
let's say it's
Alpha.
alpha.
Alpha. Yes. My sweet little boy.
Okay. Say, can you want to show? You want? Okay.
You wanted to do the illustration.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
So you talk, I illustrate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the student here, so I'm following the teacher.
Very good.
Okay.
So when a kid chokes on something, they have taken this thing and you don't know, you may not know what it is,
But first of all,
Yeah.
how do you tell signs of choking before you even come to realize that they're actually choking?
the child may cough too much, maybe
Trying to
trying to
clear the
get
airway.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and also they may find trouble in breathing a little bit. They may feel like as though they're suffocating of some sort, because when you're coughing, you feel as though you can't breathe very well. Then you can feel them.
Okay.
Yes. So the first thing that you do is you turn the baby up.
To face
Yes.
down, face
Yes.
down.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Then you ensure that as she's holding, you see the way the breathing of the baby is, the airway is clear.
The chin should be between your thumb and your index finger.
Yes.
All right.
You support the head,
Okay.
right? You ensure that you're not, when you do this, don't hold the neck like this, because you're really just making it worse, right?
Yeah.
So what we are doing here is we are supporting the head. Yes, exactly, like that.
this.
You're a very good student. I know.
All right.
For Alpha, right?
You know. Yes.
So you support the head. Then the next thing is you place the baby. In this case, we are doing for a baby.
Yes.
One who is like from 0 to about 1 year.
One who
right?
is
That's a-
handy. Don't
yeah.
go lifting a 5-year-old. Like
You can't
Yes,
lift a 5-year-old.
that's why I felt the need to actually explain.
Yes.
It's from up to 1 year, right? So you support the head like this, and then you ensure that their head is lower than the body. This is just so that also the force of
Gravity
gravity can
helps.
actually already start helping, right?
Okay.
Then what you do is you give 5 slaps on between the shoulder blades. Kindly, yes.
Get
Make it-
those slaps.
Actually, the thing here is we need them to not to be extremely hard, but you really just need to do it.
Yeah.
'Cause
They need to
it's
be
a matter
firm.
of,
Yeah.
yes, it needs to be really firm, because it's a matter of life and death,
Yeah.
really, right?
Okay.
So you do it between the shoulder blades. You see? The 2 shoulders at the middle.
Nakumbuka
Right.
scapula.
Yeah.
Hapo katikati. All right.
So you do 5 of them, right? So you see,
Yeah.
like that.
2.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
they have to be firm.
Are
3,
you going to break them?
4,
No,
5.
5.
You want, that's why you're doing it.
At
Which
the-
part
at
of
the
the
middle.
palm are
with
you
your
using?
palm.
Right
Like-
here at the center.
Yes, you see? Yes. You're doing it with the palm because we also don't want to cause like damage
More
to the baby,
damage.
right? So you do 5 of them. As you do, you can just check if the baby, if the thing has actually just come out.
Okay.
If it hasn't, if the baby is still choking, you turn the baby, towards your side. Kindly turn the baby like this, right? Then you support the head.
Yeah, Alpha.
And then what now you do is you give 5 chest compressions.
Compressions.
That is at the middle of the chest, right here, right there.
The sternum
With
right
2
there.
fingers,
Okay.
yes, with 2 fingers. So you do it 5 times. The thing here is we do
2, 3, 4, 5.
right? As you're doing that, you're checking. If whatever it is that the kid had taken is probably, you
No,
can
in the
see it on the mouth, like you
cavity.
can actually see it and you can reach for it, just use your small finger to
To
remove
reach
it.
out and
But please, if you cannot see it and if it's so farther down the throat, don't try, because you're actually going to make it worse. So if the kid doesn't get better, you do it again.
On the
You
back.
Alternate.
Yes.
Because that's the next thing I want
Right.
to ask. Do you go from the back to the chest, back to chest,
Yes.
as long as the item that is choking is still in the body?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Until the item actually is able to come out. If you actually do it right, if you hit it right, and you do the chest compressions, trust me, by the time you actually get to the 5th one, whatever is choking is
It
actually
will
going
already
to
be
yes,
out.
Yeah.
it's going to be out.
And
All
do
right.
not use any other finger if it's not the small
Smaller,
finger.
kindly.
They
And
have small
only do
mouths.
that when you can see it and reach for it. Seeing it is one thing, reaching for it is
Is
another.
another.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if you have done that, how many times should you do it before you move to the next step if the item hasn't come out? Let me hear from you, Michelle.
You should do it twice, at least twice. And as you're doing it, yes, as you're doing it, call for help. The major thing that we majorly forget is calling for help. You may try do it maybe 5 times, 3 times, but you actually need to call for help
while you're doing this.
Yes, while you're doing this, you can call for a neighbor or someone. Just call for help, because majorly the main thing is you want this baby to survive. You want Alpha to be okay. So you need to call for that help.
All right.
Yes.
Now, when you have done this a number of times, let's give it a max of 5, and whatever is choking the baby has not come out, what is the next immediate step to take before they start turning blue? Because in movies they start turning blue.
That's actually true. So once you've done it 5 times and the baby and whatever is choking the baby is still choking, one key thing that I need to say is, as you're doing it, be ready to do CPR, just in case they actually like completely stop breathing. Because if they stop, the next thing, whenever any casualty, whether a baby, a child or an adult, they're not breathing, the next step is always CPR. You call for help. You can maybe pick your phone or call a neighbor or put your phone on loudspeaker as you do CPR.
Okay.
But in this particular case, if that is not working, just prepare. By the time you get to like the 5th time, you're actually going to see if the baby starts turning, or you can see they're completely not breathing. Just continue doing CPR as you go to the hospital, right?
Yes.
Even when help comes, you know, you might call for help and tell the person, oh, get a car, let's go to hospital. And whatever it is, maybe you're on the 2nd round and it's not yet out. So just keep doing it as you go, right? As you go to the hospital, just keep doing it. Because those minutes are the most important.
For so much. My goodness.
The first
now, still looking at babies, I want us to, before we come to adults and choking, let's talk about drowning with babies. In the house, there could be a random bucket or basin, or you put some water for them in the bathtub to play, and then they tip over. And then you find your child has been underwater for a number of minutes and they're not responsive. What are the first steps to take?
Of course, the very first thing is remove them from the water, right?
Number one. Don't just look at them and panic.
You see, that's the reason why I'm saying that. You know, some of these things we may think that they're really obvious and easy, and that's why it's very key to have these skills. Because you know, when you have these skills, at least your first option is not freezing. At least you have an idea of what you can do, right? That's why we like it when people actually learn these skills. So of course, the very first thing is to pick the baby from the water, which is ideally even what you do if it was an adult, right? So you remove the baby from the water. And then once you do that, you lie them on a flat surface.
Level?
Yes.
For that matter?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you need to actually check if they're breathing. You know, depending on how long they've been there, you might actually remove the baby from there, and maybe the baby might start coughing, and they'll be okay, right? And they cough out the water. If they start coughing out the water, then you tilt the head so that's
to the side.
Right? If they don't, this is where now what I said, the DA, right? But in this case, there is no D, because you already know what the danger was. It was water, right? So you start with R. So you check for response. If the kid is not responding, airway, you open it, breathing. If they're not, start CPR. As you call for help, you're doing it, and you're moving.
Kindly demonstrate for us the proper way of doing CPR.
Okay. So
both on the baby and Thomas.
Okay.
Let's start with maybe you show us Alpha, and then Michelle, you'll show us Thomas.
Okay.
Let's start with the baby. We move from gentle to aggressive.
Okay, so ideally, when you're doing CPR, let's say Alpha here.
Yes.
Right, so Alpha is not, I've realized that Alpha is unresponsive and not breathing, right? So previously, CPR used to involve two things. One was the mouth to mouth, and the second was the chest compressions. Right now with COVID, we say strictly no mouth to mouth.
No mouth to mouth.
100%.
Mouth to mouth baby and
is a no.
You don't have
I was just
COVID.
about to say that, because I knew you were going to say that. Strictly unless it's like your baby or maybe your husband or wife, because that is someone who you're sure of, right? But if it's a stranger, no. All right. No. Of course, if they're so in this case, it's this baby. So what you're going to do is the chest compressions. Chest compressions are usually done at the center of the
sternum, right there
of the chest. So ideally, the thing here is the heart has actually stopped, so we want to get it back to
massage it,
pumping, right? So what you do is you locate the center. This is the easiest way for you to locate the center of the chest, whether it's a baby, whether it's a baby or a child. The easiest is that, right? So this is the center. So we are going to give the chest compression.
Two fingers?
Yes, 2 fingers.
Okay.
Like this, right? And when you do it, you need to ensure that you move about 4 to 5 centimeters deep into the chest.
Wow.
Yes.
That is almost this distance.
Yes, so that you actually are able to get, when you do it, you should actually do it. And you see the way the dummy, the chest moves.
Spreads out.
Right? The chest is actually moving downwards, right? So I'm going to do that. And then you release it, but you don't remove your fingers, right? So ideally what you're doing is
breathe, Alpha.
breathe, Alpha. Breathe.
All
okay,
right.
so when you're doing those chest compressions, you should do them at the rate of about 110 compressions, right?
Yeah.
There's this song, Staying Alive. So we tell people, use that, right?
Oh, sing the whole thing.
Staying alive. Right?
All right.
Yeah, like that. So that's for a baby who is up to 1 year.
Okay.
From 1 year to puberty, you do the same thing, but now you use your hand, one hand, the palm of your hand. So it's going to be
Again, on the chest.
at the middle of the chest, the same thing.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Now we come to Thomas. My directors tell me we have about 7 minutes to go, so we have enough time to demonstrate CPR on a grown person.
So this is Thomas.
Yes, Thomas. Sorry. You
Sorry,
are not
Thomas.
for too long.
So this is a casualty who is unresponsive and is not breathing.
Yes.
So as the baby, you have to check. You see, the goodness of a dummy is it shows you where you're going to do.
Yeah.
But now in a human being,
you have to trace
yes,
and
you have
figure
to
it out.
trace and figure it out, but it has to be at the center. Then you have to put your strongest hand
First.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you hold it with the weakest. Yes. So now,
You interlock the other hand.
Yes.
Okay.
then you do 30.
Compress. 30.
Yes.
Again, 4 to 5 centimeters
Yes.
per compression.
Yes.
After 30, that's when you check for any response.
the pulse. You check the pulse. If the person is still not breathing, then you still continue 30 more. But you ensure your strongest hand
Is
the
what is
yes.
the primary anchor to
Yes.
your...
Yes.
All right.
So this is what you do. And your hands should be this.
Straight.
Yes.
Hakuna kukaribia sana, you have to keep folding your
Yes.
elbows.
Yes.
Now from that, how do you check for breathing? Do you listen in or you look at the diaphragm to just be sure that they're breathing?
The pulse.
The pulse.
Due to
Yes.
COVID, we advise for you to check
for
the
the pulse.
pulse.
Yes.
All
As
right.
you keep doing that for after every 2 or so minutes, after every 2 minutes, just check the pulse to find out if the casualty
Is
has
breathing.
started now, like breathing on their
Okay.
own. And if you're not able to feel that, as you continue to do the chest compressions, you can call for help.
All right.
As I said, when you're doing the Dr. ABC, when you get
Make
to
sure
the
you
B,
have
that's
called
when
for
now you do
help.
the
Yes.
you make the choice whether to call for help or what to do next.
All
So
right.
you
Now,
call you
as we
continue.
bring this to a close, maybe Michelle, you can also, since you have Thomas with you, you can demonstrate to us when somebody, a grown person or somebody of sizable size, is choking on
You cannot
food
use
most
Thomas.
of
We
the
cannot,
times.
we cannot use Thomas. We'll use
Oh, we need a real life human. All right.
You want to,
You're
I'm
out
choking.
eating, umekula kawaru, kameingia for the wrong pathway, and they're choking.
yes. So Judy is choking. Please choke.
All right, professionally.
So she's choking, and hi, can you cough it out? Can you cough it out? It's not coming out. So ensure she's this way. Then you stand next to her, but now you give her slaps. You slap her
With your strongest hand again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you slap her. 4, 5. Yes.
I see you're slapping as you slide up.
Yes.
Is that intentional?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's how you do it. You have to do this. You have to use here. So, because you can't keep doing this, you're pushing it to come out.
To come up
Yes.
against gravity.
Yes.
Okay.
So if it doesn't come up against gravity, you ensure your leg is in between.
She's a very good professional choker.
And your hand,
At the diaphragm.
yes, like this. You use
Fold a fist.
yes.
Right
Put it
there
here.
under the diaphragm.
Then-
Hold with your other hand.
Yes.
Then
Then now you
Lift up.
Yes.
Hui. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. That should help push whatever object it is.
Yes.
What if it's somebody who's bigger than you?
So if it's someone who is big, like when
Physically bigger than you,
reach,
yeah,
like,
you cannot
here,
right? Put your arms around them.
What you should do when you're doing the abdominal thrust, it should be just above the navel. So of course, if it's someone who is much bigger, you're going to do the same exact thing. Stand beside them. The very first thing is you actually just ask someone, are you choking? Right? They probably not tell you, but they can know.
Why are you
right? Are you choking? You encourage them to cough. So you're going to do the same thing. You see, you support them with your hands, they lean forward, and then you do.
Well,
actually, it's supposed to be that. So that when it does that, if she was talking, say my name. You see, when you're saying it,
you
that's
can
how.
feel the,
Yes.
okay, the
so
impact.
if this particular person is like really huge, you cannot be able to
wrap your hands around them.
And even if probably it's a woman who's pregnant, which is also very key.
Yes.
What you do in this particular case is when you do it, so you're going to use
fold your fist again,
and you put your finger
lock
inside
your thumb in
to ensure that you don't hurt them,
the
right?
person.
Okay.
So you're going to do it here at the center, of the chest, right? And then you stand like this so that you're uko sawa.
Yeah.
Then you do the same
Anchor
thing.
yourself.
Yeah.
Then the same actions.
You
She's in
see,
action.
yeah. You see, ideally it's like that. When someone is talking actually and you do it, you can so what you're trying to do is to push the air out,
whatever
so that
object.
whatever object is.
Wow, this has been such a pleasure. We weren't able to really look at most of the other issues that we were hoping to touch on, and those when it comes to broken bones and fractures, as well as cuts and stab wounds, which we'll be keen to make sure that we also get to address with you. But at least we've been able to touch on a number of things. Next time we'll invite you guys back again to be able to continue with the second part of this. But thank you so much for coming through. Of course, give my thanks to Thomas and Alpha for being such willing participants to this discussion. We do hope that wherever you're watching us from, you've learned a thing or two when it comes to first aid and safety precautions that you need to take, and the measures that you need to take to ensure that you are offering the proper help to whoever it may be. We have been speaking with Judy Gacheri. She is to my immediate right. She is the communication executive at St. John Ambulance, as well as Michelle Sikobe. Hey, I almost shemad your name. Michelle Sikobe, who is a first responder. Thank you so much, ladies, for making time.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely.
And in case of any emergencies,
Yes.
we have an emergency number. We have ambulances always on standby.
Maybe you could give us real quick.
Yes, the numbers are 0721 225 285.
225 285.
Yes.
All right.
Call them anytime. We'll be available.
Fantastic.
And
Great.
of course, if you want to learn first aid, come and learn with us at St. John Ambulance. We have classes each and every week.
All right.
We always have classes. Just come walk into our offices and do a class, or just give us a call and we're ready.
Fantastic. Just get some of these skills, man. You will get to some point in life where you will need some of these skills to be able to save a life. That brings us to the end of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for making time to be with us from the beginning up until now. Tunashukuru sana. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning, hapa KBC Channel 1, for another fantastic edition of Good Morning Kenya. On behalf of the crew, we want to wish you a lovely day. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. I am Jain Wambui.